Hello and welcome to Quiz Time. I'm Jess, and today our quiz is on the 1970s. So, are you ready to go back in time? Let's go. What year did the United Kingdom officially join the European Economic Community, EEC? 1979, 1975, or 1973? 1973. Which country experienced the Carnation Revolution, ending decades of dictatorship in 1974? Greece, Portugal, or Spain? Portugal. What was the primary purpose of the Helsinki Accords, signed in 1975? Human rights and European security, trade agreements, or nuclear disarmament? Human rights and European security. In which country did the Red Brigades, a far-left terrorist organisation, emerge prominently during the 1970s? Italy, Germany, or France? Italy. What major event took place in Munich, Germany during the 1972 Summer Olympics? An athlete's protest, a terrorist attack, or a doping scandal? A terrorist attack. What year did Spain's dictator Francisco Franco pass away, leading to the country's transition to democracy? 1978, 77, or 75? 1975. Which European nation underwent a military coup in 1974, leading to the abolition of its monarchy? Portugal, Greece, or Spain? Greece. What was the name of the anti-nuclear power movement that gained traction in Europe in the 1970s? Green Wave, European Anti-Nuclear Movement, or Nuclear-Free Europe? European Anti-Nuclear Movement. Which European country suffered a severe economic crisis in the 1970s due to oil shortages? France, Italy, or the Netherlands? France. Who became the leader of West Germany in 1969 and continued to shape its policies through the early 1970s? Willy Brandt. What was the name of the feminist movement that began to rise across Europe in the 1970s? Second wave feminism. Which Scandinavian country decriminalised homosexuality in 1972? Sweden, Norway, or Denmark? That's Denmark. What was the primary goal of the Common Agricultural Policy implemented across Europe in the 1970s? Stabilising food prices, promoting industrial farming, or encouraging trade? Stabilising food prices. In what year did Ireland join the European Economic Community? 1972, 1974, or 1973? 1973. The Baader Meinhof Gang, a left-wing militant group, was active in which European country during the 70s? France, West Germany, or Italy? West Germany. Which country legalized abortion through the Veil Act in 1975? France, Belgium, or Spain? France. In 1974, which European nation launched its first ever Eurovision Song Contest with ABBA's Waterloo? Sweden, Finland, or Norway? Sweden. The Northern Ireland conflict intensified in the 1970s. What was the conflict popularly known as? The Partition Wars, the Division, or the Troubles? The Troubles. Who was the Chancellor of Austria from 1970 to 1983? Bruno Kreisky. In which city was the 1973 oil crisis most notably discussed among European leaders? The Hague, Brussels, or Paris? Brussels. Which country officially declared itself neutral and withdrew from NATO in 1974? Greece, Iceland, or Portugal? Greece. What European cultural organisation was founded in 1973 to promote art and music? European Cultural Foundation. What year marked the beginning of punk rock rise in the UK? 1976, 1978, or 1974? 1976. Which country transitioned into a constitutional monarchy in the 1970s after decades of authoritarian rule? Portugal, Spain, or Greece? Spain. What landmark policy change took place in Sweden in 1974? Free higher education, gender equality in the workplace, or the Parental Leave Act? The Parental Leave Act. The European Space Agency, ESA, was established in what year in the 1970s? 1 in 10 chance. It was 1975, bang in the middle. What country led the Green Movement's rise in Europe in the 1970s? Sweden, the Netherlands, or West Germany? West Germany. What was the name of the agreement that improved relations between East and West Germany in 1972? The Basic Treaty, the Cold War Accord, or the Ostpolitik Treaty? The Basic Treaty. Which European country saw a significant population movement during the Turkish invasion of Cyprus in 1974? Turkey, Italy, or Greece? Greece. What year did the Eurovision Song Contest move to satellite broadcasting, allowing for a larger audience? (1976). What scandal led to the resignation of President Richard Nixon? Teapot Dome scandal, Watergate scandal, or Iran-Contra affair? The Watergate scandal. What major war ended during the 1970s, significantly affecting US foreign policy? The Korean War, Vietnam War, or the Gulf War? The Vietnam War. Which movement advocating for gender equality gained momentum in the 1970s? Civil rights movement, temperance movement, women's liberation movement? Women's liberation movement. What famous music festival in New York symbolized counterculture in the 1970s? Coachella, Woodstock, or Monterey Pop Festival? Woodstock. What economic phenomenon plagued the US with high inflation and unemployment? Hyperinflation, stagflation, or recession? Stagflation. What environmental disaster led to the creation of the EPA? Love Canal, 3 Mile Island, or the Exxon Valdez oil spill? Love Canal. What space mission resulted in the first Mars landing by an American spacecraft? Viking 1, Apollo 2, or Mariner 9? Viking 1. What energy crisis caused fuel shortages and long gas station lines? The Great Gas Shortage, blackout of 1977, or OPEC oil embargo? OPEC oil embargo. What movie trilogy starting in the 1970s reshaped science fiction? The Matrix, Star Trek, or Star Wars? Star Wars. What American city became synonymous with disco culture? New York City, Chicago, or Los Angeles? It's New York City. What law ensured gender equality in educational programs, especially sports? Title IX, Civil Rights Act, or Equal Pay Act? Title IX. What proposed amendment aimed to guarantee equal rights for all genders? Equal Rights Amendment. No trick questions here. What iconic car brand introduced the Mustang during this decade? Chevrolet, Ford, or Dodge? Ford. What sitcom addressed social and political issues in a comedic format? All in the Family. What Supreme Court case legalized abortion nationwide? Brown v. Board of Education, Roe v. Wade, or Plessy v. Ferguson? Roe v. Wade. Which music genre, with artists like Fleetwood Mac, rose in the 1970s? Soft rock. What nickname was given to the post-World War II population cohort coming of age in the 1970s? Millennials, Generation X, or Baby Boomers? Baby Boomers. Are you one of our Baby Boomers? What major environmental law aimed to reduce air pollution? Earth Conservation Act, Clean Air Act, or National Environmental Policy Act? Clean Air Act. What movement focused on Native American rights and sovereignty? Indigenous Peoples Union, Trail of Tears movement, or American Indian movement? American Indian movement. Which US city hosted the controversial Olympics of the 1970s? None. The US did not host. Sorry, trick question there. What cultural movement popularized natural living and communal lifestyles? Bohemian movement, hippie movement, or environmental activism movement? Hippie movement. What advancement in computing laid the groundwork for personal computers? Internet creation, smartphone innovation, or microprocessor development? Microprocessor development. What landmark concert combined music and activism in New York? Concert for Bangladesh, Live Aid, or Farm Aid? Concert for Bangladesh. What investigative journalism magazine rose to prominence? In the 1970s, this is. The Rolling Stone magazine. What Bronx event marked the rise of hip-hop music? Kool Herc's Block Party, Sugar Hill Gang Concert, or Bronx Hip Hop Festival? Kool Herc's Block Party. Which campaign introduced Earth Day to encourage conservation? Environmental Awareness Campaign, Earth Day Network, or National Wildlife Federation? Earth Day Network. What health scare led to significant awareness campaigns in the 1970s? Lead in gasoline, asbestos exposure, or both of the above? Both of the above. Which city became a hub for the punk rock movement in the 1970s? San Francisco, New York City, or Seattle? New York City. What feminist book gained renewed attention during this time? The feminine mystique. What was the main objective of the American Indian Movement, AIM? Tribal casino establishment, federal land acquisition, or rights and sovereignty for Native Americans? Rights and sovereignty for Native Americans. Which Asian country underwent a major political shift with the rise of the Khmer Rouge in 1975? Cambodia, Vietnam, or Laos? Cambodia. What war officially ended in 1975, unifying North and South Vietnam? Vietnam War, Sino-Vietnamese War, or the Korean War? The Vietnam War. Which Asian country became the first to elect a female Prime Minister in 1972? Pakistan, Sri Lanka, or India? Sri Lanka. What region in China was designated as an autonomous region in the 1970s to preserve its cultural identity? Inner Mongolia, Xinjiang, or Tibet? Tibet. What Asian country was expelled from the United Nations in 1971 to be replaced by the People's Republic of China? Taiwan. What major construction project began in Pakistan in 1974 to control flooding and generate hydroelectric power? Tarbela Dam, Maghnala Dam, or Calabar Dam? Tarbela Dam. Which Asian nation saw the declaration of marital law by Ferdinand Marcos in 1972? Thailand, Indonesia, or the Philippines? The Philippines. What significant military conflict began between India and Pakistan in 1971? Kargil War, Operation Gibraltar, or Indo-Pakistani War? Indo-Pakistani War. No trick questions here, like I said. Which Asian country's monarchy was abolished in 1973, leading to the establishment of a republic? Afghanistan. What Asian city became a global financial hub after British investment in the 1970s? Singapore, Hong Kong, or Tokyo? Hong Kong. What 1979 invasion led to the Soviet-Afghan War? Chinese invasion of Afghanistan, US invasion of Afghanistan, or Soviet invasion of Afghanistan? Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. What Asian leader is associated with the Cultural Revolution that influenced the 1970s? Mao Zedong. What Asian country celebrated its 50th anniversary as a modern state in 1973? Japan, Turkey, or Saudi Arabia? Turkey. What island country suffered political turmoil with the assassination of Bandaranaike in 1977? Maldives, Sri Lanka, or Indonesia? Sri Lanka. Which Asian country launched its first 5-year plan in the 1970s to modernise its economy? China. Which Asian country gained independence from Britain in 1971? Bangladesh, Singapore, or Brunei? Bangladesh. What Asian country experienced the Ebola cyclone in 1970, one of the deadliest natural disasters in history? India, Myanmar, or Pakistan? So modern-day Bangladesh. And it was Pakistan, so the modern-day Bangladesh. What treaty signed in 1973 aimed to normalise relations between North and South Korea? North-South Joint Communique. What Asian nation saw the rise of the Islamic Revolution in 1979? Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, or Iran? Iran. What Japanese company introduced the first commercially successful video game, Pong, in the early 1970s? Atari, Nintendo, or Sony? Atari. Which country in Asia was led by Emperor Hirohito during the 1970s? Japan, Thailand, or China? It was Japan. What peace treaty signed in 1978 sought to resolve tensions between Israel and an Asian nation? Camp David Accords. Which Asian nation saw the construction of the Petronas Towers begin in the late 1970s? Indonesia, Malaysia, or Singapore? Malaysia. What major energy project did the Soviets initiate in Central Asia in the 1970s? Baikonur Cosmodrome, Siberian Gas Pipeline, or Aral Sea Water Project? Aral Sea Water Project. What Southeast Asia nation was ruled by Suha during the 1970s? Suharto, Vietnam, Malaysia, or Indonesia? Indonesia. What Asian desert region gained global attention for its rapid desertification in the 1970s? The Gobi Desert. Which Asian country's one-child policy began to be implemented in the late 1970s? Japan, China, or India? That was China. What major Asian sporting event was first hosted in Tehran, Iran in 1974? The Cricket World Cup, Asian Games, or the AFC Asian Cup? The Asian Games. What Asian city-state gained independence in 1965 and began rapid industrialization in the 1970s? Singapore. What iconic Japanese bullet train was extended to connect Osaka and Tokyo in the 1970s? Osaka Flyer, Kyoto Express, or Tokaido Shinkansen? Tokaido Shinkansen. What significant environmental movement began in Australia in the 1970s? Stop the Dam campaign, Save the Franklin River, or Save the Koalas? Save the Franklin River. Who became Australia's first female federal senator in the 1970s? Edith Cohen, Dorothy Tangney, or Margaret Guilfoyle? Margaret Guilfoyle. What iconic Australian landmark was officially opened in 1973? Sydney Opera House, Melbourne Cricket Ground, or Great Ocean Road? The Sydney Opera House. Which political party came to power in Australia in 1972, ending 23 years of Conservative rule? Liberal Party, Labour Party, or National Party? Labour Party. Who was the Australian Prime Minister dismissed by the Governor-General in 1975? Gough Whitlam. What was the primary focus of the Whitlam government's reforms in the early 1970s? Taxation policy, social welfare and education, or defence spending? Social welfare and education. Which iconic Australian film was released in the 1970s, beginning the Ozploitation era? The Chant of Jimmy Blacksmith, Picnic at Hanging Rock, or Mad Max? Picnic at Hanging Rock. Which event in 1972 marked a turning point in Australia's Indigenous rights movement? Wave Hill Walk-Off, Mabo Decision, or Tent Embassy Establishment? Tent Embassy Establishment. What major sporting event did Australia host in 1971, attracting global attention? Davis Cup Finals, Rugby World Cup, or the Commonwealth Games? The Commonwealth Games. What Australian airline underwent significant expansion in the 1970s, establishing itself internationally? And this is your last one. Are you going to get the final question right? It was Qantas. So how did you do today? Drop your score in the comments below and of course like and subscribe so you get notified every time we post a new quiz. And join us next time on Quiz Time.